He's covered some of the biggest stories of our time, and for more than 2 decades, Peter Jennings was the face of America's most watched newscast. The Canadian-born newscaster has lost his battle with lung cancer. The ABC anchor passed away at his home in New York Sunday at the age of 67. CTV's Murray Oliver has this look back now at the life and career of Peter Jennings.
On April 5th of this
For more than 2 decades, Peter Jennings was the urbane face of one of America's most watched newscasts. But last April, Jennings announced he was battling more than a deadline.
As some of you now know, I have learned in the last couple of days that I have lung cancer.
An epic career was coming to an end.
Good evening. I'm Baden Lunson. And Peter Jennings for CTV National News.
Peter Jennings was just 24 years old in 1961, a high school dropout. But this young man from Toronto, with the silky voice, James Bond looks, and appetite for hard work, seemed an ideal choice to anchor CTV's nightly newscasts.
On the Front de Libération Québécois.
4 years later, Jennings was plucked from Canada to become an anchor at ABC News in the United States. But the critics panned him. He was soon reassigned as a foreign correspondent. That job was a perfect fit. Jennings globetrotted from capital to capital, becoming famous for his calm, sophisticated style. He won awards and praise, and the world traveler always gave the credit to his Canadian upbringing.
I also think there's an undying Canadian fascination to see and participate in the rest of the world. And so I think we bring up a whole lot of enthusiasm with us.
I think Peter Jennings' unique strength was his knowledge of international events.
In 1983, Jennings returned to New York and became sole anchor of ABC World News Tonight. He led the ratings for 10 years. At his peak, 14 million viewers tuned in to watch him each night. But Jennings loved reporting, and he returned again and again to report from the field. Jennings during the brutal siege of Sarajevo.
What good is any humanitarian assistance if you leave us to die undefended?
Jennings during the last interview with Saddam before the first Gulf War. He literally caught the last plane out.
Have you been speaking to one another?
In the end, the trench coats and flak jackets always gave way to the anchor desk, where Jennings had perhaps his finest moment during the coverage of September 11th, on air for 25 hours straight.
Is this September 11th the biggest story of your career?
Oh, I think it's the biggest single story of my career, without any doubt.
So if you're a parent, you got a kid in some other part of the country, call them up.
Jennings was anchor at a historic time in world and television history. The internet and cable news is chopping away at network news ratings, and he may well be the last of the great television anchors.
His career traced the evolution of television news from its heady days of civil rights and the Kennedy assassination and the moon landing to its troubled days today when it's simply a business unit of a giant corporation. You will never see the like of Peter Jennings again.
Peter Jennings died on Sunday in New York. He was 67. Murray Oliver, CTV News, Washington.